Hello, this is Mash It and Smash It, but you can call me Mash or Mash It for short. Alright, let's get started with our first animated movie review. The Adventures of Prince Achmed is a silent German animated film released in 1926 based on various folk stories from 1001 Nights, or Arabian Nights as most would know it. It is the oldest surviving animated movie, being preceded only by two movies created by Urino Cristiani, both of which have been lost, which you should already know if you've seen my last video. The film was created by Lotte Reiniger, a German animator who was famous for utilizing cardboard cutout animation and silhouettes, as was the style of this movie as well. Reiniger was assisted by other avant-garde animators, including Walter Ruttmann, Berthold Bartosch, and her husband, Karl Kosch. At 65 minutes and 24 frames per second, the movie took about 3 years to make, with each frame having to be filmed individually. The movie was also notable for helping to pioneer the multiplane camera, which is a device that creates separate layered backgrounds, moving them at different speeds. You know how cartoons move the foreground, background, and anything in between at different speeds whenever the camera scrolls across a scene, like when a car is driving? That's the multiplane camera technique. It is a very useful tool in creating authentic panning shots. Now, just to point out, the movie as it was originally made no longer exists. This movie was restored by archivists in the late 90s using surviving nitrate prints, so in a way, you're not watching the original cut. But hey, at least it wasn't given bad CGI or Greedo shooting first. The movie focuses on Prince Achmed. No, not that Achmed, who is tricked by an evil sorcerer into riding a flying horse, which whisks him away to far-off lands to several different adventures, hence the title of the movie. Along the way, Achmed meets the beautiful Pari Banu, the ruler of the land of Wak Wak. The two fall in love, after a somewhat uncomfortable chase scene which is borderline sexual harassment. I guess this was before no means no was a thing. But the sorcerer kidnaps Pari Banu, and it's up to Achmed to save her. With the help of a native witch and a peasant named Aladdin, you may have heard of him, Achmed faces the sorcerer and his many demon minions. So let me just start by saying that I watched an untranslated version of this. No dubbing, no subtitles, nothing. There were probably some translated versions I could have found, but, well, the video quality was just too good to resist watching. So unfortunately for me, I was unable to understand the dialogue, which surely would have helped me follow the story better at parts. That said, it's not too hard to get the basic gist of what's going on, and even when you find yourself confused, a later scene usually has you go, "Oh, so that's what it meant." I guess I should take a better look around next time, since most of the movies I will be reviewing for this series are from other countries. Hey, I'm just getting started with this YouTube series, give me time to improve whatever flaws I have. So from what I managed to gather from the foreign language, the story is quite basic. Not surprising, considering how early on this was in motion picture history, and even more so in animation history. They weren't going for complex stories back then, they just wanted to entertain with their skills in filmmaking effects. But due to how old this is, naturally you shouldn't expect anything more than a simple good versus evil story, complete with a damsel in distress for good measure. Though, to be fair, the story takes some interesting directions here and there, like the whole conflict in China and pretty much everything involving Aladdin. It also throws a curveball by killing off the main villain before the actual climax of the film. But overall, the plot is not the main draw of the movie. No, the main draw of the movie is hands down the animation. My god, is it gorgeous. Reiniger poured her blood, sweat, and tears into this film, and it both shows and pays off immensely. Every line and curve in the set, every outlined feature given to the characters, is very carefully crafted, leaving very little question of what you're looking at. Granted, some of the character designs are a bit, well, culturally insensitive, but in terms of racism in early cartoons and movies, I've seen way worse. The animators also utilize things like wax and sand to create a variety of unique effects. Truly a visual marvel. The silhouette effects, along with the multiplane camera, also helped in creating an imaginative world. I mean, the details of the world were pretty incomprehensible due to the animation style, but that's not a strike against the movie. Nonetheless, Reiniger and her fellow animators created a world that seemed well beyond what you may expect to be created by such basic tools. Reiniger also excels in giving characters who are constantly in shadow such well-defined emotions. It takes great talent to convey such expressions from characters that aren't given a clear face. While the characters are otherwise quite basic, which is to be expected from a movie as old as this one, Reiniger is such a pro at conveying emotions without facial expressions that you shouldn't have too much of a problem understanding their desires and motivations throughout, even if, say, you can't understand the language they are speaking. Honestly, for the time this movie was made, I was pleasantly surprised by how much depth the otherwise simple characters actually had. Achmed is pretty much the kind of hero you would expect from a movie of this era. However, he's not quite the goody-goody you see in other films of the time. He must have been pretty gullible to fall for the sorcerer's little trick at the beginning. He seems kind of full of himself, and again, he's a bit of a creeper. I mean, look how all too willing he is to start making out with an entire room full of women. Sure, he improves over the course of the movie, as you would normally see with a flawed protagonist, but it's still a little uncomfortable to watch. The villain manages to be one of the more interesting characters, mostly due to the expressions that Reiniger gives him through what little we can see of his face. I think this is probably the character that had the most work put into his animation. I mean, for one thing, the majority of special effects in this movie are from this character. But also, he's the character that manages the most expression. Just look at that devious grin. Also, look at these powers he's showing off, and all these monsters he can summon. I don't think even Jafar had such power when he became an all-powerful sorcerer. I almost picked the villain as my favorite character of the movie, but I think I will instead go with the witch. Yeah, I know, she looks like an over-the-top minstrel show caricature, but I think that's pretty much where the racism ends with this character. Otherwise, she proves to be a rather colorful character. Not like that! A very useful ally to the hero, and even kicks her fair share of butt along the way. Hell, she's even the one who takes out the villain in a scene that I'm sure had at least some influence on a certain future Disney movie scene. In fact, she greatly helped Achmed take down the final Hydra-like monster at the end. Okay, seriously, are we sure that she's not the hero of the movie? Picking a least favorite character is a bit more of a challenge, because I didn't really dislike anyone in this film. Granted, aside from the witch, sorcerer, and other ugly-looking characters, the characters are all quite bland. But I think I'll give the slight edge of unlikability to the hero, again, due to his rather pervy nature at the beginning. I mean, I'm not against certain characters doing this kind of stuff, but this is the hero of the movie we're talking about. But just a disclaimer, I'm not offended by it. I'm not one of those people. So yeah, no points for guessing what my least favorite scene of the movie is. As for my favorite scene, I might have to go with the sorcerer's escape from his prison cell. This was pretty much the scene that defined what the animation team was capable of, and utilized such creative visuals while also showing you exactly what is going on, even if, again, you don't understand the dialogue. Overall, this movie was a feast for the eyes and a great chronological introduction to the world of animated films. Sure, some aspects of it are pretty dated, but as it is, it's still a very strong early film, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in film history, or simply just wants a good spectacle. Now, if you're expecting a deep story or complex characters, you're not going to get that here, but if you're willing to look past all of that, chances are you will be happy that you checked this movie out. So I hereby rate The Adventures of Prince Achmed with an 8 out of 10. Wow, what a solid movie to start off this historical journey. I really look forward to seeing what other animated works await me in the future. Until then, this is Mash It and Smash It, signing off.